So far, today's video is going to be my February reads. I kind of want to get back into doing more book content. I have been reading like my life depends on it since the start of the year, given some of the books that I've read are not books that I have enjoyed or would ever read again or recommend, but we'll get into that. Okay, so I only have one book and it's not finished yet, that is physical. All the rest have been on my Kindle. I am currently on a 10-week, 63-day streak with my Kindle, so I'm trying to maintain it. I know that sounds so silly, but it actually motivates me to read when I know I need to come on and read. So yeah, and it's satisfying, you know. So I've been reading on my Kindle a lot. The last book I was reading at the end of January was Ward D by Freeland. Now that I've finished it, I would still recommend it. It was a really fun, fast-paced read, so I would still recommend Ward D, because I was actually wondering, where is this going to go? And I've read Freedom McFadden books before, and I usually can kind of pick up on the trail, you know. The clues that are put down, I can usually kind of tell where it's going to go. But with this one, I actually didn't. So Ward D follows a medical student called Amy as she is put on her night shift rotation in Ward D, which is a lockdown psychiatric facility. And she has some unknown to the reader history with Ward D, and her story kind of unfolds via present day flashbacks, like I think it's like 6 or 8 years ago or something like that. So you flash back and you find out about her past, you flash forward and you find out about what's happening. I like that this goes down over like one day, like her shift, you know. So as the chapters go on, you see the hours ticking down. I really like this kind of countdown aspect because it adds to the intensity of what's happening when you know that there's something on the horizon, you know. So I really like that. I like that it happened over one day as well. It made for a really quick read. It's not a very long book. None of her books I don't think really are, but I really enjoyed this. When I was reading it, I don't massively think I'll think about it much afterwards. It was a good, engaging read, which is what Freeland McFadden does best. You know, that's why you go to her books. And I did find the story interesting. I found the twists really good. As I said, I didn't expect them either, so yeah. And there's just something so good about, you know, that creepy like hospital late at night. She's locked in. She can't leave. There's so many mysteries that evolve as the night goes on. It is good. So that is my first read that I would recommend to you guys. Now, here is where my reads start to go downhill. So I keep getting videos on my Instagram about books, and they take like one scene, like one really good scene from the book, and make it into a video, and it gets everybody to read the book. You know, your usual. However, I have been enticed by one too many of these now, and they have all been really disappointing. And that's a lot of why my reads this month have not been very good. They've just been kind of like disappointing romances, you know? Like, they have potential, but they're just not written as well as they could have been. So, the next book I read was Painted Scars by Neva Altash. I may be butchering that, I'm sorry. Which is like a mafia romance. I just found the characters in this to be kind of messed up with one of the mafia guys, and he needs to basically marry off his daughter. So she needs to marry the guy. The usual type of shebang, but it just felt kind of bland. It just didn't feel very exciting or interesting. He had potential as a character. Okay, there's disability representation in this because he was in an accident which messed up his knee, basically. So he's in a wheelchair and he's doing rehab, etc. But it's never going to properly heal. And I liked that. I liked that there was representation of that in this, but it just was lacking, you know. I just wanted so much more from it. I don't even really remember the characters' names. I don't remember anything really other than that. And that is disappointing, you know. And this is one of the ones that I got roped into via a video on Instagram, and I'm so mad about it, but it is what it is, you know. Izzy has joined me. She's been a little menace as usual. So another book I read this month was Five Rounds by Nikki Castle. Another one that I was roped into via TikTok, Instagram. Thank you so much. There's just too many books out there that people are pretending are really good or think they are really good, and then I read them and they're just not my cup of tea. This was one of them. This is an enemies to lovers sports romance. The characters in this, again, I just didn't really connect to them. The enemies to lovers wasn't really there for me. It just was kind of like, yeah, we hate each other, and then they get together and it's like, oh, so you don't. And it's like this big thing, you know, that they hated each other, but now they don't, and it was all this tension all along, and it's like, where was the tension? I did not sense the tension. It wasn't there for me. Maybe I'm just too used to reading books, like fantasy books, where they don't even hold hands until like book 3, which I love. You know, I love the build up, and I feel like that's a big reason why I just don't really like romance, like contemporary romance, because, you know, it's usually like a standalone or maybe 2 books in a series, and they get together in the first book and then there's like a third act breakup. I just don't like that. It's just messy, and I just, yeah. But I've been reading these because I'm holding off on reading other fantasy books because I'm reading Throne of Glass again, or well, I've picked it up again, so I'm back to reading Empire Storms. I can't believe, guys, I'm actually so upset with myself that I put this down when I did. I'm an idiot. I cannot believe it. I picked it up again the other day, and it was 1 chapter is all it took for me to get back into it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. I should have listened to you guys, but I'm reading it again. I'm in love. I'm so happy. So maybe the fact that I'm back in this world is not helping with all of these lame, you know, it just felt lackluster. It just didn't really keep me engaged. I felt myself kind of getting bored and having to like push forward for something better to happen. I just didn't really connect with the characters either. I quite like in a contemporary romance, I like when there's more to the story than just the romance. So for example, this is a sports romance. The main guy is an MMA fighter, and the girl, can't remember her name. The girl is in the same club gym as him, so they both have this like understanding of fighting, and I really like that because it adds more to the story. But I just don't think it was executed as well as it could have been, and yeah, I just felt myself kind of not really liking the characters. I also knew not many people have obviously read the full series, but I wanted to start with the first one, and I knew immediately when I was reading it that I was not going to be continuing with the rest of the series. The writing style, the way that it was structured, just wasn't really for me. It just felt very up and down and all over the place, and I don't like an insta love, but there's a certain point where you just need to chill out, and you just need to, not everything needs to be drama. So yeah, it was very fine. It was very fine. I like the club atmosphere of, the kind of unity of all the gym group getting together, and this kind of fighting club where everyone's got their backs, and I like that. I wish they dove more into that. I felt like they wasted time on other stuff. I feel like the enemies to lovers could have been done a lot better. I don't know. It just felt a bit basic, So, you would think after I learned my lesson, that book wasn't great. I was recommended it or that series on Instagram anyway. You'd think I would stop reading random books that I find. No, the next book I read was another one that was recommended to me on Instagram Reels. So the next book I read was Whispers of Fire by Cassie Killergan. This is book 1 of the Raven Sun series, and this is another one that I won't be continuing. If that says up my review, then there you go. So this book follows our main male lead, who is a baker. He's in a gang, and his new neighbour, well, he's the new neighbour, but he moves in, and his neighbour is this mute girl who is in a cult. Now, I think this has a lot of cool things in it that it could have been something. Welcome. She's been annoying me for the past hour when I've been trying to film. Yeah, this book just wasn't really it for me. I thought the idea was fun, and I kept kind of reading to see if, it evolved into something better, but it felt very repetitive, and I was just reading the same thing over and over again. It kind of lacked a bit of depth, which with the things that were going on, it had the opportunity to be deeper, it had the opportunity to be something more than it was. I really like that it sounds bad saying, but I like the representation of her being mute and them kind of navigating that, because he didn't know how to sign at first anyway. And again, I really like that he made the effort to still try and communicate. There was little things about this book that I liked, but yeah, it just wasn't, in the end it just wasn't enough, really, which is a shame. It is also kind of insta love. The minute they lock eyes, it's kind of it from there on, but it is a slow building romance, and I thought it was a sweet romance. It's sweet, but there was characters in this that just frustrated me like no other, and the main male character has this accent that, it was so annoying. I get you want to put accents in, but every time he spoke I was cringing. So yeah, other than that though, I really like the idea of this book. It just wasn't for me, to be honest. Yeah, the writing style wasn't my favourite, and it felt just a bit surface level, it could have been so much more, but it wasn't. So that was Whispers of Fire. I don't know if any of you are going to read that. And again, I still didn't learn my lesson, because the next book I read was also a TikTok one, or an Instagram one. Surprise! So this is called Once You're Mine. Now, this is probably, I don't know, is it my least favourite from the month? It was maybe my least favourite of the month, to be honest. This one was like skimmable, you know. I skimmed to get to the end of this book. It was not engaging me at all, to be honest. This is another one that just felt a bit repetitive, and so this is a dark romance where the main male character becomes obsessed with, I think it's a senator's daughter. So he murders a senator and he becomes obsessed with her daughter. He is also a lawyer who is part of his court case, so they know each other. He knows the daughter because she was at court, obviously. So they have like a little bit of history already, but this just felt a bit forced in my opinion. I didn't get the vibe that she really actually liked him, you know, and he is just straight up crazy, like in a way that's not even likeable, you know. Like, I get it. I love a good obsessed male main character, you know. He's kissing the ground she's walking on, but this just didn't hit the right nerve for that. I feel it was just, I think there's a fine line between like a good obsession and a bad obsession, and he was like crazy possessed, like I want to possess you type of thing. I don't know, he just talks about her like she's an object that he is going to possess, instead of like wanting her to be his like person type of thing, you know. So yeah, I didn't really vibe with the main male character or the main female character as well. So the main female character, Callie, works in a coffee shop with her best friend. So it kind of worked out, the structure was she would have some sort of run-in with the lawyer or something to tell her best friend about, and then you'd be in the coffee shop, she'd be working, and she'd be telling her best friend about it. I don't really like that structure because it just means I'm like reliving the scene I've literally just read about. So it just felt a bit repetitive, like why are we discussing it again? I was there, like I was literally there. You could say, you know, it could be very easily summed up in a line, like I told her what happened. You don't need to dive into all of the specifics every single time, you know. Yeah, I didn't love it. I did think about not finishing it, but I really hate DNFing books. I really hate it. Even if I really, really don't like a book, I still at least like seeing it out, you know. That's someone's hard work put into something, you know. It feels bad just leaving it. And it always feels very bad in my brain when I don't know what's happened at the end, you know. So now I feel like I committed a bit of a book reader's sin after finishing this book, guys, and I feel like I need to confess. So I finished this book, and you are warned if you decide to read this book after my review. It is a duet, I think. I mean, it ends on a cliffhanger. Oh god. I needed to know what happened in book 2, but I didn't want to read book 2. So I went to book 2 and I just flicked through the pages until I knew. Flicked to the end of the book. I've saw all that I've needed to see. Thank you. Guys, person, but she refuses to call the main male lead his name, even just once. I mean, she maybe does, but it felt like every single time she said his name, it was inserted with some silly joke, and it just became annoying the more it went on. Like, the first time, okay, I don't know for me, but like, fine. But then the second time, I was like, oh, so this is becoming a thing. So his name's Mr. Bennett, and she would say like, Mr. You want him Bennett or something like that, and it just would keep getting progressively more and more cringe the more it went on. I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Maybe it's just not my humour. Maybe it's just not for me. But yeah, I just didn't like that. It just made me a bit uncomfortable. And I was getting frustrated. Like, why can't she just say his name? Why are we doing this every single time? Every damn time? Why? So yeah, this book just did not tickle my fancy. I think all of the books bar Ward D was a 3-star, and the rest of them were 2 stars for me. And that's being generous. I probably, with the last one, I'd probably rate that 1 star. Yeah, just a bit of a disappointing month for me, to be honest. I have truly learned my lesson, though. This video especially has given me, a place to hold myself accountable. I am no longer going to be falling for these Instagram real people who romanticize one scene from a book. I'm no longer going to be reading random books that I find on Instagram. I don't know about you guys, but I really don't like reading reviews of books before I read them. I like making my own decisions and opinions before seeing other people's, However, this month has kind of made me think maybe I should. However, I'm going to talk about my beautiful baby girl, my current read, who's giving me hope in it's the light and the dark tunnel. I have missed Throne of Glass so much, and I just feel so happy to be back with these characters. I am once again super happy to be reading fantasy because I've not wanted to leave this fantasy world. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, I can very easily dip into romance, contemporary romance, kind of basic series where there's not a lot of like magic and world building and lots of complex alliances and enemies, etc. I needed to make sure that I wasn't getting distracted by other fantasy systems so that I could easily come back to this whenever I was ready. Maybe that's just me, but that's what has happened, and it has worked. I still remember everything that happened very vividly, and I went back and like reminded myself of like a few previous chapters before I went back into it. So I'm feeling good. I'm not feeling too lost after taking like 3 months leave of this. But I am so happy to be reading again. Something like life-changing, something brilliant happens if you've read this book, if you've read Throne of Glass. You know that Empire of Storm is 2 parts. I think it's 2 parts. Well, I know that it's at least 2 parts, and right before part 2, something like multiple big things happen, and I was like, interesting. So I'm going to be finishing this and then probably going straight into Tower of Dawn. I am a bit scared to go into Tower of Dawn though, guys. I know that is where a lot of people experience a slump because it's very different from this book. There's a reason that you tandem read the two, or well, that's an option. Yeah, when I do eventually reread the series, I really want to tandem read Empire Storms with Tower of Dawn. I almost regret not doing that now because I feel like I might not have experienced the slump in this book if I was tandem reading them. I think a large part of me is dreading finishing this because I love being here. I love this. And I know what lies ahead. And I'm not saying that this is so cryptic because I don't want to spoil things, you know. I'm not saying that the idea of Tower of Dawn is, you know, dreadful. It could be good. There is potential there, but the potential better up its game if it wants me to not experience a slump again. So I'm just a bit worried. I'm a bit worried about that. I'm a bit worried about reading another book that's like maybe a bit bigger than this, but not with this. I'm trying so hard, guys, to not spoil it. Persevering with the kind of lingering dread that's gonna come when I finally finish this series. I think deep down I just don't want to continue reading because one day I'm not gonna have any more Throne of Glass, and that is an awful, awful thing. That's an awful thing. So yeah, that's my Throne of Glass ramble. However, as much as I'm dreading finishing Throne of Glass, I'm almost excited at the same time because I have such a long list of fantasy books that I want to read. It's insane. It's ever growing, and I'm still there. So you know, I can't move on. I don't want to merge the worlds. You know, it's too messy for my brain to handle. But I really want to reread Fourth Wing and read the other two books that are now in the series. I want to read Powerless again and the other two books that are also out. I want to read, is it called Caraval? I think it's called Caraval. I want to read that because that's been on my list for so long and I just keep getting distracted by other books. Some Kindle Unlimited ones that I want to read include Quicksilver. I also want to read Spark of the Everflame, Metal Slinger, Blood of Hercules, Trial of the Sun Queen, A Stark View. Guys, the list is so long. A Kiss of Iron, the Book of Azrael. I have so many books I want to read, but I refuse to read multiple fantasies at the same time. Is anyone else like that? I think if I tried it, I might be fine, but I think I'd just be like, it would be like I'm being torn into two places at once, you know. I forgot to mention, I am also reading another book at the same time. I'm gonna have to start to finish up here because my phone just told me to stop yapping. My storage is almost full. So, I just wanted to say that I am reading a book called His and Hers by Alice Feeney. His and Hers. And it's a thriller, mystery, suspense type of book. It is dual point of view between him and her. It's very, very good so far. There's like a murder unraveling, and him is a detective, and the her is his ex-wife. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I'm about a third of the way through this book. So far, it's very good. It is a bit slower than I would maybe like, and I don't feel too much of the suspense thriller element just yet. So being 100 pages in, I am a bit like,